Venture X from Capital One is the travel card for people always asking,
where next?
You earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars, and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles on everything else you buy with Venture X. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the magnificent Hum Day edition of the Yard. I'm a little hoarse today. Maybe you can tell. It's because I sat behind home plate last night and I gave the umpire the absolute business. And I got to start the maroon and white cheer once, and let's go State. I don't ordinarily get to sit in the stands, but my wife was here for her first college game in 2 years, so I went with her. I didn't sit on press row. Did do post game, but we'll get through the show. We'll be fine. We'll make it. But it was a lot of fun. Got a chance to meet some Boneyard listeners and kind of visit for a little while. But the bottom line is we won a ball game. It was a good day for Mississippi State sports on Tuesday. Maybe not with the style points we wanted, but we got a couple of big dubs. And we're happy to have those, and we'll kind of look forward to the week that is. As you know, things are starting to wind down in many respects. But the reality of it is we're playing important ball games right now on the court. We're figuring out some things with baseball right now. And last night was a struggle. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, really in the next segment of the show. Fortunate to win that baseball game. Let's take a quick look around the league. It was a busy night in SEC baseball play last night. Missouri 17-2 winners over Lindenwood. 70 would be a record, right? Georgia gets by Presbyterian 11-6. Alabama 17-3 winners over Jacksonville State. Kentucky 15-1 winners over Morehead State. South Carolina 11-3 over NC A&T. Tennessee had a little bit of a tussle, but did okay. 6-1 winners over Charleston Southern. Louisiana Tech beats Ole Miss 6-5. Vanderbilt has to have a late rally there to get by Austin P 11-7. Florida beats Jacksonville, the Dolphins, the former home of Scotty DeBrule, 18-8. Texas A&M blasts Houston Christian 23-0. I'm not sure if that's a high school or not. LSU gets by Texas 3-0. And I saw a tweet. I haven't gone back and verified the information myself, but like Texas is like 0 for 9 in their last games against the SEC. You remember dating back to the 2021 College World Series, we kind of had their number 2, but beginning to hear some rumblings that David Pierce might be in a little trouble out there in Austin. We'll see how things go. And, of course, your Bulldogs 10-9 winners over Southern Miss. Always good to get that win. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how good Southern Miss is. I know that they've been ranked. I know that a lot of people are thinking, and you've heard it. If you live in Mississippi, you've heard it. Well, State's 1-1, Ole Miss is 1-1. Now we need Southern Miss to win 1. Well, number one, I don't think that's true. I don't think we need that. I think some people want that. I think there are some people that still subscribe to the Big Three in Mississippi thing. I don't, even though I have a lot of respect for Coach Scott Berry and the Southern Miss college baseball program. I do. I just don't think they're on this level. I think maybe their best chance was last year. They just happened to run into Ole Miss, who ended up winning the national championship. But at that point, did anybody expect Ole Miss? No, right? And you thought Southern Miss probably in their own ballpark after beating LSU. Maybe it was their year to get to Omaha. But I don't know how good they are. I mean, after watching them in person last night, and of course it's a snapshot. I mean, it's just one game, right? I don't know. Some of the approaches at the plate leave a lot to be desired. Even though I thought State didn't produce an offensive masterpiece, I thought that our approach at the plate was much better. And I think that showed in the later innings, and we'll get to that in the next segment of the show. But I think Southern Miss is a good team, and in their league they'll be really good. Anybody expecting them to make it to Omaha this year, I think is really kind of kidding themselves. When you look at what happened over the weekend against Illinois, they give up 35 runs. They give up 10 last night. So this is a pitching staff that's given up 45 runs. in the last 4 games. That's not winning baseball at any level. And it's not like they played LSU. They played Illinois and they played Mississippi State that was living off midweek pitching. But 45 runs in 4 games, that's a lot of runs to give up. It is. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company. I might swing in there today, matter of fact. I try to get in there every week when I can, even though there is always Bulldog Burger Company food here in the house because Ian brings it home. And sometimes I want to go sample it. But I don't. I show a lot of respect for the fact that it's his. He rarely ever offers to pick me up any, so I'm on my own. And maybe your situation is similar. You need to go by and see Bulldog Burger Company yourself. 3 great locations to serve you. University Drive here in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowwood area. Go by, have the spring rolls as your appetizer. You'll be glad you did. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. Get that great restaurant quality hamburger. Doesn't matter if it's the Mission. Doesn't matter if it's a Freshman 15, which I've been craving here as of late. Could be the Bryant, the Lauren. Go find your own new favorites. Maybe shake things up next time that you're at Bulldog Burger Company. And get that chocolate shake to go. You'll be glad you did. I'm a big proponent of dessert to go. For sure. And also a reminder, too, there will be some tap takeovers here in the next few weeks. We'll keep you apprised of that. Happy hour every day. Be sure and go by and check out those happy hour specials. Whether it's a night out with friends or a night out with family, Bulldog Burger Company has exactly what you need. They will cure what ails you. Bulldog Burger Company, a place for people to go to meet, M-E-A-T. All right, let's jump into this ball game. I was there sitting behind home plate. Many of you saw me and felt the need to tweet me or send me pictures. I know what I look like, but I appreciate every bit of that. But it seemed like we got off to a pretty good start here. Pitching-wise, Bradley Lofton started for us. And listen, I think Bradley Lofton is going to be an absolute dude at Mississippi State. And I think that's a big win for him, even though he didn't get credit for the win. It's a good experience to go out there and pitch, against a team that's got some College World Series, NCAA tournament experience. It is a veteran lineup for Southern Miss. It is. And it feels like the Montenegro family has been there since I was there. All right, so we open up, of course, State's a home team, and Bradley walks the first guy he faces and then walks the second guy he faces. So back-to-back walks to open the game. We get a ground ball. We force the runner at second and unable to turn that. And then Sargent gets a strikeout swinging. We get a stolen base there, and then we get you in the strikeout looking. So while the inning started poorly, it ended pretty well. And I thought, okay, well, maybe Lofton will go ahead and settle down here. Not much going on for State in the bottom of 1. Larry tries to get the bunt down, pushes it too much to the pitcher, didn't get it really more down the third base line. A little bit more there, you might beat that thing out. Ledbetter lines out to left on a full count. They walk DJ and then walk Hancock. So we got a little bit of a 2-out rally here, and you're hoping, okay, let's break through here. Slate strikes out swinging on 3 pitches. Takes a couple, gets a K. So both teams walk 2 hitters in the first frame and neither score. And you know how that works. I mean, you're just flirting with disaster. Walks get you beat. Montenegro singles to left center on a full count. Thought we had a chance to finish this one. But hey, I will tell you this. I'd rather the guy hit a single to left center than to walk. You got to go out there and compete, and Lofton will. Johnson then grounds out to the catcher. It basically serves like a bunt. That wasn't the intended purpose, but just kind of a little nubber out there that Ross Highfield takes charge of, and we throw him out at first, and then next thing you know, we're hitting Lynch. 2-1 count, we hit Lynch. And then we walk Creek Robertson. Loads of bases. Very similar to the first inning. You begin to ask yourself, are we going to be able to navigate through this again? Well, no. No, we don't. We get a ground ball to first, and Luke goes to second. Now, the run is going to score here unless we, turn a miraculous double play. And I don't think that Lofton was there in time to cover the bag anyway. The ball ends up in left field. It's a 2-run score. And then we walk Dickerson, and we finally get a double play here. Great turn here. It is the 4-6-3 to get out of the play. This could have been a huge inning for Southern Miss. But give Lofton some credit, despite the fact that he got in a little trouble here. He's able to roll up some ground balls here and allow his defense to work for him. But again, not a great start. We're down 2-0. State rallies and answers here in the bottom of 2. Hunter Hines flies out to center. Kellen Clark works for a base on balls, and then Highfield singles to left center. And Ross Highfield, I told you guys weeks ago, this kid's going to be a star at Mississippi State, maybe sooner rather than later. Highfield singles to left center. Runners at first and second, and then Lane Forsythe, the much maligned Lane Forsythe, who's having some much better at-bats here the last week or so, works for a base on balls here to load the bases with nobody out. They bring in the Monster kid from Northwest Rankin in relief of Martin. So bases loaded here. The very first pitch goes back, it's like you start looking at this. This is a kid that has got a lot of talent in a tough situation here, and he comes out there and throws the first pitch strike. I respect it. I do. This is a kid that doesn't have a lot of experience on a college level in a very difficult situation in a ball game that everybody remembers. And he comes out here and he competes and he gets ahead 0-2, but he ends up walking in a run here. So that's 2-1. And then you've got to face arguably one of the hottest hitters in the Southeastern Conference in Colton Ledbetter. First pitch strike again. I respect it. And then Colton rips this ball into the right center field gap. 3-run score. It's now a 4-2 ball game. Dakota Jordan comes right back behind him. Singles into right field. Now it's a 5-2 ball game. And then DJ gets thrown out at second. I don't know if he didn't get a good jump here, but it seemed like when I look up, I see the catcher pop. I couldn't believe how long he had to go because Dakota Jordan's a really, really fast human being. But they get him, and then Luke flies out to left. So 5 runs in the frame, and you start thinking, this is a Southern Miss pitching staff that has not been especially dominant. So if we can get into this bullpen in the midweek side, maybe we got a chance to get a little separation. Bradley Lofton then comes out here and puts together a great half inning. It's a 1-2-3, and he gets Sargent, Ewing, and Montenegro, and those are guys that have got a lot of Division I at-bats underneath their belt. We go 1-2-3 here, and then State comes out in the bottom of third. We get a leadoff walk, and then Hines is hit by the pitch, and you're thinking, okay, we're fixing to break this thing open, and I thought we were. Kellen flies out, Highfield strikes out swinging, and then Lane pops up to the third baseman. So you have 2 runners on with nobody out, and we don't do anything with it. We don't even advance them. That's going to happen sometimes in baseball, but when you're trying to get some separation and put the game away, that bottom of third is an inning. We had to get some things happen. Top of 4, Lofton comes back out here. We walk Johnson. We get Lynch to strike out swinging on 3 pitches, and then Creek Robertson walks. And I immediately turned to my wife, and I said, don't let him back in the ball game. Because it kind of felt like we were in control here. And then we go right back out there and gift them a situation. And unlike us in the bottom of third, Southern Miss cashes in here. Edsel lines out to center, and then Dickerson doubles down the left field line. Great effort there, but just a well-struck and well-placed ball. 2-run score. And then we get Patow to ground out to first unassisted. But now Southern's back in the ballgame. And this is when you've got to put your foot on people's throat. I say that with this raspy voice. But when you go out there and you get some separation in the game, you got to get back in the dugout. You have to. And Lofton will be better for this. He's going to be a dude. I'm not the least bit worried about him. Not at all. All right, bottom of 4. State kind of gets back in the mix here. We answer with a run of our own. Amani Larry pops up outside of first, just in front of the Southern Miss dugout, and they can't make the play. Well, you know how the baseball guys work, right? You don't make the basic play, they make you pay. And Amani Larry hit one of the longest home runs I've ever seen hit at Trustmark Park. I mean, an absolute tank to left center. It was gone off the bat. Everybody knew it. State fans cheered. Southern Miss fans oohed. Then Ledbetter walks. It was a battle, but he walks. He gets down 1-2 in the count, works for a walk there, and then they bring in Sively in place of Monaster, who I think is going to be a great pitcher to the Miss. And a lot of people really wanted Mississippi State to recruit him. So Sively comes in from Summerall and gets Dakota to ground him to a double play. And then Hancock's hit by the pitch and Alford strikes out swinging. So, back-to-back ABs for Slate that were not great. Both of those Ks on 3 pitches. Got to be better. All right, top of 5. This is when things really unraveled here. We bring in Tyler Davis and let it be, again, established. Bradley Lofton leaves with a 2-run lead. Despite the walks, despite the fact that he had some control issues, despite the fact that we had a home plate umpire that I thought had a chip on his shoulder for both teams. But I think after Lim got on him, it was even more maybe skewed in their direction. But we bring in Tyler Davis, and Tyler Davis was one of our more highly heralded transfers. He's had 4 outings. One of them has been good. This one was not. And that's the thing, too, you begin to ask yourself. You go out and you work the portal. This is a guy I think Lamona says is responsible for 19 wins, either through earning the win or capping a save in his career. But for some reason, when he gets in games, he hadn't been able to lock things down. And he hadn't been able to finish hitters. That's one of the things that you'll notice. He can get to 2 strikes, but he can't finish hitters. We need him. We need him. That's why we signed him in the first place. All right, so sure enough, we get to a 2-2 count here, and we end up walking. Excuse me, a 1-2 count. 1-2 count, we end up walking leadoff hitter. We battle back, and we get Ewing to strike out swinging. Then Montenegro, again, 0-2 count. They work it full. We give up a double, drives in a run. Johnson comes up. 1-2 count. 1-2 count. We end up walking him. Danny Lynch, 1-2 count. We don't walk him, but he puts the ball in play here, and we think we're going to turn 2 here, but the throw home is high. Throw to first is high, so the run scores. And then Creek Robertson, 1-2 count. Work it to 2-2, gets a double. Run scores, 7-6. Edsel then comes in, reaches on an error. We drop the baseball here. We roll it to the right side. Davis gets over. Luke has to range well off the bag. Robertson has it, beats him to, Davis has it and gets to the bag and then drops the baseball. That's an error. Another run scores, 8-6. So you look at this. We got to finish hitters. We got to make plays behind us. Absolutely got to make plays behind us. Absolutely. So we bring in Tyson Harden, who has been a little bit up and down, but it's like I can show him a little bit of grace. He's a young guy, right? Stolen base, we walk Dickerson, and then we get Patel to strike out swinging. So we get out of the deal here, and again, Harden, perhaps maybe his best outing in the uniform. Bottom of 5, again, State a chance to pull even here, and we don't. Had some opportunities, but Hines grounds out to short. Clark grounds out to third. Heifels hit by the pitch, and then Lane Forsythe, who's hitting about 300 now, singles to right field. We advance Ross to second there. They elect to bring in Justin Storm, who's been good for them. He gets Amani Larry to fly out to right field. The pitch before, Amani Larry missed a 3-run home run by about 3 feet. Off the bat, it was just a matter of it's going to stay fair. It ends up fading just left of the left field foul pole. That could have been a game-changing play. Ends up flying out to right, so that ends the threat there. Okay, so we go back out there with Tyson, and Harden, good inning here. Really good inning for him. We get a fly out to center, fly out to right, and we get Montenegro to ground out to second. So the ball hit the center, was hit pretty well, but it was pretty routine contact outside of that. So 1-2-3 inning for him. And again, another one of these young, talented pitchers we're expecting big things from. Bottom of 6, Ledbetter grounds out to first. DJ reaches on an error, a throwing error by the shortstop. Hancock strikes out looking. We're seeing more of that than I would like to see. Luke Hancock, one of the best eyes in all of college baseball. I've seen him strike out looking more this year than I ever anticipated. And Slade Offer flies out to right field. Another quick at bat here. Ball 1, fly out to right. And that ball nearly got down, but kind of is what it is. All right, top of 7. Harden goes back out, gets a fly out to center. We get Lynch to strike out, and then this Creek Robertson situation. I don't know what's going on with the home plate umpire. I don't get it. We drop a breaking ball in there for a strike. Everybody's walking off the field, and he's just sitting there. It's clearly a strike. And then we come back, and it's a borderline pitch, and you got to think, it's kind of an unwritten rule in baseball for those of you guys that don't know. If the umpire misses one, he'll make it up to you. And more times than not, as soon as he can. In this situation, the right thing to do is you give him the punch out there. And there was a lot of I think Southern Miss knew it was a strikeout too. They're all kind of giddy and laughing about it. But I thought Harding looked good, and I thought that was unfortunate. Even though Creek Robertson's probably a cousin of mine, I have to do research on it. But Creek, love you, love the family. You were punched out. You got a gift there. And fortunately, they didn't make it count because we get Nate Dome to come in, and Etzel flies out to right on the very first pitch. Bottom of 7, though, Storm is dealing right here. We look really bad this inning. Even though we got deep into some counts, 3 consecutive K swinging, Hines, Clark, and Highfield. That can't happen, especially when you're down 2 and you got to get base runners. All right, top of 8, Southern Miss picks up a huge insurance run here. Dickerson walks, and then Patow strikes out swinging. Dickerson takes second and ends up going to third on a pass ball. That's on Ross. He'll tell you that. Sargent flies out to left. It's an RBI sac fly, makes it 9-6. We get you in to strike out. But it's crazy. They score a huge insurance run without the benefit of a hit. We walked them. Right, we did. We walked them. There was no debate about those last 2 pitches. I think they were clearly off the plate. Stolen base, pass ball, RBI sac fly. They manufactured a run here with our help, and it proved to be a big run at the time. All of a sudden, you start thinking, hey, 2 runs, we're in this thing. Now it's 3 runs. All right, bottom of 8, State's like, okay, you want 3? That's cool. We'll get you 3. So Lane Forsythe opens drilling one in the left center. We knew it was in the gap off the bat. It's a 3-0 count. He takes to get me over strike. On full count, he hammered that ball to left center. Hammered it. Then Larry is hit by the pitch. And before we move ahead here, let's not forget the fact that Storm had retired 5 in a row, and it should have been probably 6, potentially 7. We reach on an error. That's the only base runner we'd been able to muster until Lane hammers that ball in the gap. Larry's hit by the pitch. They walk Ledbetter. So now it's trouble. You could tell Storm had gotten a little fatigued there at the end. That's what happens. You control, begins to become elusive. So now base is loaded, nobody out. They turn to Middleton, J.B. Middleton from Benton Academy. Very first thing he does is throws it back to the screen. So now all of a sudden there's a run in, and now you don't have a force at any base. So the tying runs are in scoring position with nobody out. Jordan then flies out to center field. Larry tags and scores. And I'll be honest with you, and I mean this as nice as I could, if you had an SEC center fielder out there, there may have been a better play at the plate. They cut the throw off. He just couldn't get it there. So now it's a 9-8 ball game. Hancock is then hit by the pitch. And then Slade Alford, who had had a tough night at the plate, comes through, hammers a ball hard to the ground on the right side. It's now a tie ball game. His Ledbetter scores and Hancock goes to third. And then this is just good baseball here. Hunter Hines comes up. We talk about having an approach. Hunter Hines is up there with less than 2 outs with the go-ahead run at third. He's not trying to hit a home run. He's not trying to hit a ball on the ground. He's trying to find something he can elevate. Because an elevated ball means what? It's an RBI sac fly. And lo and behold, he gets it. He absolutely rips that ball to right field. There was no play at the plate. Just good baseball. Hunter Hines has maybe not had the start many expected. These are the kind of at-bats that get you going. This is the kind of stuff that fires up a team. You go up there, you do a job. When he runs at third, just go elevate something. You need something you can mash, so it changes your pitch selection. You're not just looking for strikes until you get to a full count here. And it turns out he got to a full count and still was able to get a ball he could handle. And you got to wonder a little bit there, too, if you're Middleton, maybe why are you getting so much at the plate? I mean, obviously you don't want to walk him. But you got to make him hit your pitch. And Hunter Hines wins the at-bat. RBI sac fly to drive the run home. Now State's up 10-9. And there was joy in Rankin County, Mississippi, I can assure you. Kellerman grounds out the second. They have the shift on there, but now we know we're 3 outs away. Get Montenegro to strike out swinging, and that's easier said than done. That Montenegro family's been really good at Southern Miss. Very talented players. Johnson doubles to left center, and even though this happened the way that it did, this is on us, okay? It's just an 0-2 count. We got a little too much at the plate here. I think our emotions might have been a little bit elevated here. But with 1 out in a 1-run ball game in the ninth and an 0-2 count, you hold all the advantage. I think you've got to try to get a guy to chase here. But we catch too much at the plate. He doubles to left center. And to give Nate Dome a lot of credit, Nate just barreled down here. You get Lynch to fly out to center, and I'm thinking here they're going to tag. They don't. And at that point, I think the game is over. That's how I felt. I was like, you know what, if they get to third, even though we've had a pass ball, we've had a wild pitch, the battery hadn't exactly operated at 100% proficiency. If you're Mississippi State, you like that runner at second a whole lot more than third. They elect not to tag, and honestly, I think if he had tagged, he'd have been dead to right. That's a tie and run, so you got to be careful with it. But I thought it was a significant play in the ball game. They bring in Wilkes to pinch hit. Scott Foxall calls timeout and goes out and addresses Nate, the defense, and say, hey, here's where we are. And, as an infielder, you got to sell out on this play, right? You cannot let anything get through, period. But Nate's like, you know what, you guys can go put your gloves down because I got it. We get ahead 0-2 here, try to get him a chase, he won't, and then we just basically overpower him and strike him out. So 10-9 winners for Mississippi State. Now, there are things, I love to win. I do. I love to win, but I also like good baseball. We didn't play good baseball last night, by and large. Hey, Bulldog fans, you want to win like your dogs do? It all boils down to recruiting. It's not just about development. It all starts with recruiting. The same is true in business. It's as simple as that. You need to recruit more MVPs to be a part of your business to help you win. Because if you're hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. It's probably their best feature. Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applicants that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't even have to pay. Instead of spending hours upon hours combing through multiple job sites, hoping to find the right candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. That's Indeed. They partner with you every step of the process, find great talent through time-saving tools like the Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your specific job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Plus, you only pay for the quality applications that meet your requirements. How about that? Recruiting's never been easier. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/boneyard. That offer is valid through March 31st. Go to Indeed.com/boneyard to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. Again, that's Indeed.com/boneyard. Some terms and conditions apply. But you need to hire, you need Indeed. Be sure and check them out today. You'll be absolutely glad you did. Now, we didn't quit, and we score, of course, 4 in the 8th, which is what the better team should do. When it's closing time, you got to find a way to close. We did. We didn't play good baseball. And that's the thing. You're so fortunate to win a game like this when you don't play well. And that's what good teams do, is you find a way to win a game when you're not playing well. The problem, and I think all of us see it the same way, is that it seems like we're going to have at least one of these games a week. That's got to get better. That can't continue. That's not sustainable. That's not going to get you into the NCAA tournament. And listen, Bradley Lofton, I'm a huge fan, okay? That kid is going to be a weekend starter for us. He's going to be phenomenal. He is. He's going to be a guy in a couple of years. You're going to be like, you know what? That guy's going on Fridays, throwing 95 from the left-hand side. We're going to be good. He's still acclimating to the college game. But 6 walks, not going to get it done. And listen, I understand we didn't have the greatest zone last night, but I think Bradley will tell you he missed some spots last night. But 6 walks. We walk 11. And then we had a hit by pitch. So we issue a dozen free passes in the ballgame and then commit 3 errors. That gets you beat. But fortunately, we're such a good offense, we're able to overcome that. But you can't count on that. It's just simply not sustainable. Tyler Davis comes in and goes 2/3 of an inning, gives up 2 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, a strikeout. We got to finish hitters. When you get into an 0-2 and a 1-2 count, you got to finish. You got to finish. Tyson Harding was the shining middle reliever. 2 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. And one of those walks was an absolute joke. An absolute joke. But 42 pitches for Tyson, and again, I thought he showed good life on the fastball, good deception with the breaking ball. There's a lot to work with Tyson Harding. And then Nate Dome comes in. The only hit he allows, of course, is the double there in the 9th inning. 2 1/3. Allows 1 run. It's unearned. Walks 1. 4 Ks. And Nate was as cool as he could be. He really was. Great job. But it's one of those ones we feel like we stole it. And it felt like in the middle innings we were giving it away. But it seemed like as we got through the 6th and 7th and Southern's able to maintain this lead, it really felt like we were going to lose. I think most of you probably felt the same way I did. You have opportunities and you don't cash in, just like you get runners at first and second, nobody out, and you don't even advance the runners at any point. And there's some guys down there that getting some big scholarship dollars that didn't come through there. And that's part of baseball. But in the end, we found a way. In the 8th inning, 4 runs, and everybody contributed. And again, it's all started by Lane Forsythe. The much maligned Lane Forsythe. And listen, Lane has not been off to a good start. He's made some errors. He's had some bad at-bats. But when you look at what's happened here in the last week with him, things are getting better. Things are absolutely getting better. All right, let's take a quick look at this. The Lane Forsythe experience, that's being disrespectful. All right, now he's hitting 296. 296, which is what, 6th best on the team? Actually hitting better than Dakota Jordan, Hunter Hines, and Kellum Clark among the regulars. So it's pretty interesting. So he starts out 3, 7, 11, 13. 1 for his first 13. And everybody's ready to bench him, ready to fire the recruiting coordinator, fire Lamonis, bulldoze the stadium. Since that 1 for 13 stretch, 2 for 2, 1 for 3, 1 for 3, 1 for 3, 2 for 3. Making a difference. And listen, even the outs are a little bit louder. He's barreling things up. Fielding, the very first, it's incredible how similar it is. He makes 4 errors in the first 5 ball games. And he hadn't made one since. And he's actually had more chances. So he's settling in. And so what I say that to say this. Listen, I'm a firm believer in accountability, even though it's the fans that don't hold players accountable. Let's give this guy some credit for turning this thing around. Got off to a slow start as a fender and a hitter. Now we just need some consistency, right? Got to continue to push forward here. But listen, Lane Forsythe is a guy that, again, I saw somebody said he's the Will Rogers of the baseball team. Maybe that's fair. I don't think that Lane gets enough credit. And listen, when he boots one, yeah, he deserves it. Okay, sure. But the reality of it is this kid's picked it up. He absolutely has. So let's just hope things continue for sure. Bulldogs are back in action this weekend at Frisco. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But I'll be heading down there. Busy week for me, for sure. But I'll be headed down there Friday, and we'll be there for the whole 3-day event. Looking forward to seeing you Texas Dogs that are out there. All right, time for today's Top 10 list. As always, brought to you by closewithblair.com. Blair Chandler is my friend, your friend in the mortgage industry. A lot of people out there have questions. Blair has answers. 21 years of experience in the industry, and we talked about this before. Anybody that stays in any industry for 20 plus years is doing something right. Top 1% close ratio in the country, back-to-back years for Blair. Visit him at his website today at closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com, and he can get you going. But maybe you're driving around right now and say, Steve, just maybe hit the digits there and I can get in touch with him. You can. It's 601-500-2344. Again, that's 601-500-2344. Be sure and check him out today. And if you mention to Blair, whether it be by carrier pigeon or email or whatever, that you heard about him on the Boneyard, he's going to pay for your appraisal. It's about a $500 value. How cool is that? Be sure and check him out today. Again, closewithblair.com. Okay. You may not be aware of this, but there is new Linkin Park material out there. I don't know how much more that we're going to get. Mike Shinoda has said that the band has no plans to tour, record a new album, anything like that. A lot of people have wondered maybe if they shouldn't finish some of the unreleased material and have some other people kind of step in. Don't know how that's going to work, but we do have a brand new Linkin Park song, and so it kind of got me to thinking, what about some of these hidden gems that are out there? Chester Bennington worked with a lot of different people, did some electronic stuff, did some punk stuff. There's some stuff out there that's outside of the Linkin Park umbrella. So I thought we'd address that today. So top 10 hidden gems from Chester Bennington. All right, number 10, from a movie that I never saw, and I don't know that I ever will, but Chester Bennington, Shinoda, and some of the guys from Linkin Park put this thing together. But from the motion picture soundtrack for Mall, we're going with track White Noise. White Noise, number 10 on your list. Hopefully we can find all these. Number 9, another interesting collaboration here. A track called The Walking Dead, or Walking Dead. It's Chester did a guest spot on the DJ Z-Trip's album. Pretty cool track. It's new to me, but I dug it. I checked it out because I was looking for kind of stuff that maybe we're not as familiar with. And so I've listened a lot to the stuff here this morning. There's a lot of stuff out there that Chester was a part of that didn't get a lot of notoriety. Maybe it should now. Number 8, a side project that he put together when Linkin Park was on hiatus a bit. It's a band called Dead by Sunrise. Great track called Inside of Me. That album is actually worth your listen. If you haven't listened to anything else recently, and maybe you're not well-versed in that portion of Chester's contributions, check it out. It's Dead by Sunrise. They just did the one album called Out of Ashes. Actually, a pretty cool little project there. Number 7, going back to Chester's first real band. And a lot of people have had I've got these guys listed twice, but there were a lot of people that were very critical of these guys from Gray Days after Chester died. They're like, hey, let's go push this material out here. And some thought they were exploiting a situation. What's interesting is the gentleman behind the deal is a multimillionaire. So it wasn't some cash grab. And he even said in interviews, I don't care if this ever makes any money whatsoever. I just wanted to share this music with Chester's fans. But a band called Gray Days, I'm going back to the B12 track off their very first EP, B12, and you can kind of begin to hear the genesis of Chester Bennington. Pretty incredible. Number 6, I probably should have this one a little bit higher, but I got kind of hung up in all of this. But there is a song by Mark Morton out there, and it's called Cross Off. It is absolutely phenomenal. It made the rounds here a couple years ago again. It seemed like it was everywhere for a while because everybody was looking for anything that involved Chester. But Mark Morton's Cross Off is phenomenal, in the words of Ben Howland. Phenomenal. That might be a new favorite for you if you're unfamiliar with it. All right, number 5, and because I'm a Motley guy, I didn't even know this was out there. I didn't, and I'm ashamed of myself. But did you know that Chester Bennington and Vince Neil and Motley Crue sang a duet of Home Sweet Home for Katrina relief? Did you know that? I didn't. It's true, and it's available out there on iTunes and Spotify. So Home Sweet Home from Motley Crue featuring Chester Bennington. What an odd pairing. And it works out pretty well. It's basically just the piano stuff. But all that said, nice collaboration for a great cause. Nearly a generation removed. So Home Sweet Home from Motley and Chester Bennington. Did not know that song existed until today. All right, number 4, going back to Gray Days. And I wanted to work these guys in here because I think that some of that material is better than people realize. But the song Saturation, Strange Love, is great. And Chester really begins to kind of find a sense of himself. And so he left Gray Days and, of course, went and auditioned for Linkin Park. It wasn't this organic thing. Like Shinoda and like Chester grew up together. This wasn't the case. And Chester Bennington basically quit his job at Burger King and went out there and auditioned for Linkin Park, and the rest is rock and roll history. There is a solo track, pretty interesting. It's unlike anything else in the catalog, which makes it something that, for me, makes it a little more intriguing. You get the classic sound, but it's a little bit different. I will say this, it drags a little bit. The arrangement on this is a little bit different. But it's from the Queen of the Damned motion picture soundtrack. It's a track called System from Chester Bennington. Not Linkin Park, but Chester himself. All right, number 2. You may not know this, but Chester Bennington was a huge Stone Temple Pilots fan. Huge. Like it was his dream to one day be the singer of Stone Temple Pilots. And after Scott Weiland got fired, lo and behold, there's an opportunity for Chester Bennington. And he goes and records an album with them, and it's very interesting. But we're going to go with Out of Time as your number 2 track, Out of Time from the Stone Temple Pilots album with Chester Bennington. Now, Stone Temple Pilots is a new singer now, and it's ironic how life has worked for those guys. It really is. I mean, when SCP first hit the scene, people thought they were kind of ripping off Alice in Chains, but then you found out, as you heard more of the catalog, these guys were a lot more diverse than that. Scott Weiland, of course, was a incredible frontman. But then you lose Scott Weiland to addiction, and then you lose Chester Bennington to suicide. It's pretty crazy. If you don't know Chester Bennington's story, I encourage you to do some research. Before he was famous and a rock star, he lived a very, very tortured and abusive life that was of no fault of his own, and ultimately became a drug addict. And it's a reminder, too, that some wounds never heal. It's true. Some wounds never heal. And Chester, of course, is a guy that was a victim of abuse, and did what he could to kind of to turn back the pain as best he could. And so he sought refuge in alcohol and drugs, and then eventually got into recovery for a bit, and began to heal some. Began to have children of his own. And he and Chris Cornell are very similar. They share their pain with us, and eventually the pain takes them. And that's one of the things about addiction. I tell people all the time, the thing that recovery teaches you is how to process pain. And some pain out there, it's just difficult to get through. I mean, it just is. You can work and work and work. It may take years of therapy or years of just talking or working through your own evaluations, but processing pain is a difficult part of addiction. I think that's probably the key component to everything. People think, well, Steve, if we could just get him or her to stop drinking, if we could just get him or her to stop using, everything would be okay. Well, no, you wouldn't, because then you're going to take away the only medicine they have to deal with their ailment. So you have to teach them. You have to get them in professional counseling or get them into a recovery program, because it's about processing pain. It's not an issue of morality. People act like it is. It's really not. And as a person that's lived through it, dealt with it now for 31 years, and done my best to help others, I can tell you, until you can help somebody process pain and kind of get, the skeletons out of the closet, per se, there's no hope of recovery. All right, number 1, though, We're going to go with the number one rock song in America today. It's Lost from Linkin Park. That was kind of a hidden gem that was kind of tucked away. They found it here in recent years, and because of the fact that they were going to be re-releasing a remastered version of Meteora, they included that on there as a bonus track. It is phenomenal. It's one of those things, too, you look at and say, why wasn't this song originally released? But we're glad to have it now. So it's good to get new music from Chester Bennington and Linkin Park. I don't know how much more of that there is. Hopefully there is a little bit more. I know, speaking of that sort of stuff, there supposedly is enough material for 2 to 3 Audio Slave albums. The material that Chris Cornell and Tom Morello had. And then there is the Soundgarden record that has still not been released. That there was a big dispute between Vicky Cornell and Kim Thale and the surviving members of Soundgarden. And, of course, I mention that is because Chris and Chester were so closely affiliated. And one of the things that every so often, I don't know why I pulled up, but one of the most beautiful tributes, I remember after Chris passed away from suicide, that Linkin Park was supposed to be on Jimmy Kimmel. And they were going to sing Heavy, but because of Chris's untimely death, they sang One More Light. And Chester kind of breaks down during the performance there. But it's a very, 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 very emotional thing. And the arrangement's a little bit different. And there's this one part there where, the end it talks about, who cares about this? And then Chester just lets out this absolutely blood-curdling scream where he says, I do. The whole song is about life, when people pass away in your life. And that one lyric that always gets to me is there's always one more chair at the table than you need. That's just brutal, man. I get chills even thinking about that. So I wanted to celebrate the music of Chester today, and but also to use it as a bit of a cautionary tale. We got to learn to process pain. We do. There's no point hurting alone. And I'm a person that deals with that all the time, right? I mean, it's like not just my own pain, but others, and I'm a person that heals by talking. And maybe you heal another way, and writing helps and things of that nature. But you got to find a way to process pain. And it doesn't matter if you're an addict or not. Learning to do that is the key to happiness. All right, next segment of the show brought to you as always by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. I love Campus Bookmart. You will too if you don't already take part in this wonderful love affair that Campus Bookmart has with this wonderful fan base of Mississippi State people. If you're looking for Mississippi State merchandise, look no further than Campus Bookmart. When you're in town, go by and see their smiling faces. They'll be happy to assist you. So many great people there doing such a great job, providing you with the latest and greatest of Mississippi State merch. Whether you're looking to outfit your family, add to your wardrobe, detail your office, buy a great gift for a friend, a relative, coworker, Campus Bookmart can help you with that. If you can't make it to town, let me encourage you to visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75, absolutely incomplete. Again, that's Campus Bookmart. And if you're looking for the Mike Leach crew neck shirts, the hoodies, sweatshirts, you can find them right there. And, of course, with baseball season here, you need some new gear. You do. Treat yourself at campusbookmart.net. Okay, big win for Mississippi State men's basketball last night. Not that we didn't expect it. It was probably a little more difficult than we anticipated. But the Bulldogs now 20-10 overall and 8-9 in this conference. I believe we're in. A win on Saturday, I think, removes all doubt no matter what happens at the SEC men's tournament. You finish with 21 wins in a regular season and a .500 record in this conference. You deserve to be in the tournament. And the Nets in the 30s now. But difficult game last night in some respects. But State sweeps the season series from South Carolina. We played them twice. We win by 6. Let's take a quick look inside the numbers here. We were, of course, covering baseball, so we didn't get to see a lot of this. We were able to hear a little bit of it when we were over and done with. But South Carolina drops to 10-20 and 3-14 in the league. But give the Gamecocks credit. They could have mailed this thing in here down the stretch. They have played better basketball, as you guys are aware. G.G. Jackson with 22 points for them. a dozen for Hayden Brown and for Josh Gray, respectively. But, pretty good effort, shall we say. 6 of 20 from beyond the arc, that didn't help the cause. But 16 of 17 from the line. G.G. Jackson, 11 for 11, perfect from the line. And that's coaching. Free throws is coaching. Gamecocks pulled down 29 rebounds, the Bulldogs 28. So they out-rebounded State. And, same numbers, basically, in many respects across the numbers here. But State 3 of 14 from three-point land. 19 of 24 from the free throw stripe. And again, that was a big issue for us early in the year, but collectively as a team, we have gotten better. We have gotten better at the stripe. Bulldogs shoot 50% in the ballgame. That'll get you more wins than not. And nearly 80% from the free throw line. We got to get better from beyond the arc, but we kind of are who we are at this point. 40 points in the paint for State, just 26 for South Carolina. State 27 points off turnover. South Carolina just 8. Second chance points for the Gamecocks 12. Bulldogs have 10. Fast break points 15 for State, 0 for South Carolina. Shows what a good job we're doing in transition defense. 8 points from the Carolina bench and 17 for the Bulldogs. The game was tied 4 times. The lead changed hands 10 times. But looking at Mississippi State's numbers here, Shaquille Moore, big game for him. 20 points. Tolu Smith 16. Off the bench, Sean Jones Jr. pitches in 11. And a handful of guys, making a contribution here. A lot of guys got in the game late, kind of as a thank you. But, it was a much tighter game than I think most of us anticipated. But the bottom line is State gets a W here. It was back and forth in the early going. And late in the first half, I guess around the 7-minute mark, State began to really kind of exert themselves a little bit. And then you look up late, and with 2 minutes to go, after a Cam Matthews dunk, State is up 4. We push it to 6 on a Tolu dunk, and then Deshaun Davis makes a shot basically at the buzzer to put State up 8. So it's a 42-34 advantage at the break. And even though it had been kind of nip and tuck throughout, State closed the half really well. But give South Carolina some credit. They didn't just go away. State continued to kind of nurse this lead along, and you look up, with right around the 16-minute mark, and it's a 2-point game. 2-point game. The game was tied at 14 minutes after a 3-point basket from Eli Sparkman, and you feel like, we're going to have to kind of pick it up here. South Carolina takes a 3-point lead after Jacoby Wright rams home a 3. State cuts it down to 1. They go right back up to 3. And right around midway point in the second half, State's having to kind of battle here. State with a 1-point lead. South Carolina takes it back out to 4 with the 8-minute mark, up 2 possessions. And from there, State pretty much willed this thing to the finish. DJ Jeffries knocks down a pair of free throws. McNair with a jumper in the lane pushes it out to 4. The lead swells to 5 after a 3-point basket from Shaquille Moore just under the 5-minute mark. Cam Matthews pushes it back out to 5 at the 4-minute mark, and then with 1:33 to go, just 90 seconds to go in the ball game, Shaquille Moore with a nice layup to push it to 7. State gets a stop, and Deshaun Davis on the break is fouled and makes a couple free throws. It's a 9-point game, and it feels like it's academic at this point. Shaquille Moore makes one more free throw after he's fouled. Of course, they're in a fouling situation. It's a 10-point lead. And from there, State just kind of pushed this thing along. And Jacoby Moore makes a basket with 4 seconds left. The game was over at that point. But State is doing what has to happen late in ball games. If they turn it into a free throw shooting contest, we are showing the mental fortitude to step up and make those shots. So big win for the Bulldogs, even though it was not a marquee opponent. Anytime you get a win in this league, it's a big deal. So that sets up a final game this weekend, and we'll talk more about that later in the week as State gets ready to head to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt in the regular season finale. But Vanderbilt has been playing better as of late, and this is far from a sure thing. Now, I do think State can go up there and get the dub here, but the reality of it is it's going to be anything but a sure thing. We're going to have to go up there and play good basketball. And while many people are projecting State to be in the tournament, and we're no longer part of the last 4 in, we're continuing to kind of improve our resume. We got to finish here. Vanderbilt 16-13 overall, 9-7 in the conference. So this is a seeding type game for us. Makes things a little bit easier for us in the SEC tournament. But they are an 11-5 team at home. And just kind of looking at recent play, and again, we'll do more of an in-depth look later. They're going to play tonight at Kentucky. So a bit of a quick turnaround for them is they'll go back home and play us 7:30 on Saturday. But winners of their last ball game, 88-72, and then back before that, they give LSU their second conference win. Brutal right there. But a lot of variance in the SEC standings right now. You just don't know at this point how this thing is going to shake out. It's because of the fact there are so many teams kind of locked in there together. And we've come a long way in a short time. We really have. We have really come a long way. And, again, the fact that here we are, it's March. It's March. And the Bulldogs are right there. Busy schedule tonight, too, though. Vanderbilt's at Kentucky, as we mentioned. Auburn's at Alabama. Missouri's at LSU. That'll be interesting, right? Because we know we need some games to go our way. It'd be great if LSU could find a way to get a dub for us, but just not expecting that LSU 2-14 and dead last in the conference. But Mississippi State 8-9, just behind Auburn and Vanderbilt. So if Alabama and Kentucky can pick up a win tonight, then all of a sudden that puts us right there in the mix, potentially leapfrogging some teams to get a better seed. And while we're at that, of course, Missouri's 9-7 too. So, they could be just all three of those teams could be just a game ahead of us. And of course, if State beats Vanderbilt, you get the tiebreaker there. But we'll see how things go. But again, State 20-10 overall, 8-9 in the league, and I don't know that most people expected us to be in this position. I know all of us hoped that would be the case, but we're right there. I mean, conceivably, obviously things would have to fall just right for us. But State could finish tied fifth in the SEC in year one under Chris Jans. You're not going to catch Alabama, obviously. You're not going to catch A&M. You're not going to catch Kentucky. You're not going to catch Tennessee. But if things fall just right, you could end up in a tie with Missouri, Auburn, and or Vanderbilt. And just behind us, of course, is Arkansas and Florida. So there's a logjam there in the middle of the league as we kind of get ready to seed the SEC men's tournament. Of course, again, LSU at the bottom. South Carolina tied with Ole Miss for 12th in the league, and then there's Georgia. And then from there, it's 8-win teams. It is a logjam. And so in order to differentiate ourselves, we just need to keep winning. When it comes to this time of year, you can never assume you've done enough. There's always something else to play for. And then we'll get ready to roll from there. But, the Bulldogs doing a good job. You start looking at this Chris Jans experience here. You've won 2 in a row. And after that was that great winning streak. We started by knocking off TCU, and it's when fans really began to have some belief in this team. You go on the road, beat South Carolina, you beat Missouri, you beat LSU, you beat Arkansas, and run into a 5-game winning streak, and you get beat by Kentucky. And the way they're playing, there's no shame in that, but that's a game I know we wish we had. Then you go beat Ole Miss and Oxford. You lose on a heartbreaking last-second shot to Missouri. Then you beat A&M. And again, I go back to this. The only game all year that it felt like that we were outclassed in was that road trip to Knoxville. What are we going to look like when we get a couple of offensive scores? What does this mean for Hubbard? Hubbard's opted out of his Ole Miss letter of intent. State very much in the mix. Paul Jones is now, our Paul Jones at genespage.com has now crystal balled Hubbard, who is now the all-time leading scorer in Mississippi high school history. Some big names involved. People, well, he's a volume shooter. Well, you don't think Chris Jackson was? Hollywood Robinson, those guys? You give the guy the ball. So we'll see what happens. But we need to get some offensive scorers. And I think when you look at the foundation that's being laid, this blue-collar appeal to this team, you begin to realize that some good things are on the way. So big win. And it was really not just so much a big win. It's just a game, we couldn't afford to lose. We had to find a way. To win a ball game here. And we did. You lose that ball game to South Carolina last night, you're probably head of the NIT barring a run in Nashville next week. In a week from today, the SEC tournament begins. A week from the day. It's crazy to think how fast the season's just rolled by for us. But again, very happy about the results. Very happy about what is to come. Very happy about the direction that Chris Jans has this program kind of moving forward to. All right, final segment of the show brought to you as always by Portico. I've told you guys many times before, if I was moving to Starkville now, I'd move to Portico. I'd love to be that close to campus. 1.1 miles away from the Mississippi State campus. Far enough away for some privacy, but close enough for convenience. You can't beat it, man. You absolutely can't beat it. Give my friend, your friend, Mississippi State friend, Brooks Bryant, a call today at 601-416-8075. Again, 601-416-8075. And just let him know, hey, we're interested. We want to make Starkville our home. Or perhaps it is an investment property for us. Or it's a second home for us. It's our ball game weekend retreat. We don't want to go broke, paying for hotel rooms. We want to have a place we can keep all our tailgate stuff. A place that we can go up there, and maybe perhaps when our kids go to college there, they can stay there full time, and then we can be there on weekends. You know what your needs are. They can meet them at Portico. You can start with a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home, go all the way up to a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home. Pretty amazing what they can do for you, too. And really anything in between. If you need a custom build, they can take care of that for you. They can take care of that in every aspect. Just let Brooks know. I say, hey, Brooks, I need this. Can you guys accommodate me? Chances are they're going to say yes. Again, that's Portico. Make it your next move. Okay, busy week ahead. The SEC Women's Tournament gets started today. By the time you've heard this, there's a chance that perhaps the first game is in the books, and at that point, maybe we begin to know, and it looks like this game just went final. Texas A&M beats Vanderbilt 77-70. So that opens up our game for tomorrow. And, of course, State has played really well against Texas A&M. We will be the 1 p.m. game tomorrow. The Thursday games began with Missouri and Arkansas, and then we will play Texas A&M. Auburn will play Georgia. Alabama is still waiting to find out who their opponent will be. And that'll be determined this afternoon. Kentucky and Florida play. So the winner of that game will take on Alabama. So A&M, of course, State has handled them twice this year. However, the second time was a little more difficult. We win that ball game, but it wasn't maybe what we had hoped it would be. We absolutely destroyed them earlier in the year. I'm pulling their schedule up right now. We beat them 60-44 in College Station, and then turn around and beat them 70-62 here in Starkville. Down the stretch here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've lost 7 of 9. They beat Kentucky to kind of get out of the cellar, lose at Arkansas, and then win today. So again, that's 1 p.m. tomorrow. The bottom line is it's a game we should win. But this time of year, you got to think Texas A&M has nothing to lose. All the pressure is really on us. I think we're in the tournament. I think we win this game. I think it removes all doubt. I think you win this game no matter how much you lose to South Carolina by. I don't think it matters. I think you remove all doubt with a win on Thursday that the Mississippi State women deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. So that's your preview for that. And again, it's difficult to beat a team 3 times in a year. And you look at the fact that the second game was in our home arena. It goes to show you that they have gotten better, even though they've strung together some losses. But they were getting absolutely murdered in the first half of SEC play. I mean, you lose by 40 to LSU. And I mean, all these are double-digit losses. And then you get into the second half of the SEC schedule, things are a lot more competitive. You beat Georgia, lose by 9 at Vandy, you lose by 7 at Florida, 6 against LSU, 8 against us, and then 10 against Auburn, and then they got beat pretty good against Missouri, but by and large, they have been a much more competitive team. So we're not going to be able to just kind of show up and go through the motions. It's a team we know well, but it's a team that knows us well too. So it'll be an interesting day tomorrow. That's your rooting interest tomorrow, and it's a full slate of games tomorrow. If you're keeping up with all that and you're excited about it, you certainly should be. But going to be a very, very interesting tournament. real quickly here, it's going to kind of comes into focus. But, yeah, look at the bracket. I think we're actually in better shape here because we actually don't play South Carolina in the quarterfinals. My mistake. The earlier bracket I looked at over the weekend, I guess, was wrong. But or maybe I made a mistake. However, if you can take care of Texas A&M, you'll play Ole Miss. And we're playing pretty good basketball, but they've been better than us this year. Let's just kind of tip our cap there. But you beat A&M, I think you're in. You beat Ole Miss, you absolutely are in. You win 2 games in the SEC tournament with the record that we have, a winning record in the SEC, 20-plus wins. I think you can feel good about life. But first and foremost, we got to go take care of Texas A&M. And then we'll get ready, hopefully, to go play Ole Miss. And then we'll see how things go. And, of course, South Carolina would await us in the semifinals. But South Carolina, of course, will play the winner of Missouri-Arkansas. I don't know if there's anybody in this league, with the exception of LSU, that might be able to really give South Carolina a game, especially in their home state. Even though this is a, quote, neutral floor, the tournament being in Greenville, South Carolina means it's going to be a very partisan crowd for the Gamecocks. And it appears that's where they want to keep that tournament. I guess that's fine. But as long as South Carolina kind of rules the roost in the SEC, it's going to be a home tournament for them. But again, State, 2 winnable games ahead of us. The first one easier than the second, as it should be in a bracket play. But best of luck to Coach Sam Purcell and the ladies tomorrow at 1 p.m. on the SEC Network following the Missouri-Arkansas game. So an important game, to say the least. But again, I think we're in. We can remove all doubt. Now, we talked about the men playing at Vanderbilt. You kind of know what's at stake there. Let's take a quick look now at the Frisco Classic. I will be leaving a tattoo appointment tomorrow, and I'm going to do my best to record Thursday night. If not, I'll get up early Friday, but I got to get on the road. And so we're going to be, the wife and I are going to Frisco for the Frisco Challenge. Excited about that. I have been out there before. It's a great event. Last time we went, it was absolutely miserable. Absolutely miserable last time. But State gets a couple wins out there. Here is your schedule if you haven't seen. Okay, the first thing I'll tell you, you can watch the whole tournament for $25 in person. Many of you are going to be trying to stream through D1 Baseball. Don't know about how that's going to work. But if you're in the area and you're crazy about the Bulldogs, you can come. It's 2 games a day. You can spend $25 and have a pass. But the first game is on Friday, California versus Oklahoma. That's 2 p.m. And then State and Ohio State in the nightcap at 6. We will turn around on Saturday and play Oklahoma in the early game. And unfortunately, on Sunday, for those of us that travel, we also have the early game. So the only nightcap is the Friday night game. So 1 p.m. on Saturday against Oklahoma, and then against Cal at 11 a.m. on Sunday, which should allow all of us to get home at a decent hour. The gates open up 1 hour prior to first pitch. That's, you know how it is here. We'll just kind of let you roam around as best we can, but you got to leave the stadium before it's time. You've stocked your rigs and everything. But the reality of it is that it's a great event, and we're going to play some teams, too, that have some dudes. I mean, anybody in the Power 5 is going to have some guys, right? I mean, that's just what you expect. Let's take a quick look at State's first opponent, though, Ohio State. I don't expect Ohio State to be outstanding, but Chris Lemonis says that the arm that we're going to see on Friday night is a big-time guy. So we're going to see, a guy that's capable of shutting down his offense. And we have been a good offensive team. Our biggest issue has been defense and pitching. If we can go out there and get a good start, we'll see how things progress. But that's the thing that worries me the most, right? It's like if we just go out there and throw strikes and defend the baseball, we're going to be fine. Ohio State, though, is 3-5. 3-5 on the year. And so based on, maybe what we've heard here, from Chris Lemonis, let's kind of take a quick look at the box scores for Fridays for them and kind of get an idea of who we're going to face here. They opened up the year splitting 4 with UConn in the Snowbird Classic down in Florida. That's an interesting dynamic, right? Let's just all go on the road and play neutral site games. But the season opener of the year against UConn. Ohio State wins that game 3-0. The starting pitcher was Isaiah Coupet, Coupet. He goes 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 9 Ks, 1 wild pitch. That's getting the job done, for sure. Now, the Gonzaga game, they win that game 11-9 in 10 innings, so it's a no decision there. But looking at numbers here, looks like Ohio State threw a different pitcher on that Friday. So I'm not exactly sure who they're going to throw, but if it's Coupet, it looks like that he's got some pretty good numbers. Let me look at their statistics here. As we go, all right, so Isaiah Coupet is 1-1, 2 appearances, 2 starts, 1 win, 1 loss, 13 innings pitched, which leads the team. He's allowed 7 hits and just a 1 run, 18 Ks against the 1 walk. So it doesn't look like walks are going to be a big issue here. Opponents are hitting just 152 against him and just 4 extra base hits. So I would suspect that's the guy, Isaiah Coupet, the guy that we'll see on Friday night. And again, they don't have anybody else that's throwing double-digit innings. And there's only 2 players on the team or 3 players, that have multiple starts. So that's who we should see. I wish we'd see Justin Eckhart. Goodness, he's allowed 10 hits and 10 runs and 9 innings pitched. But we're Mississippi State. We're not scared of who you got, where you're coming from. We're just ready to go get a ball game in, right? That's how it should be. Looking at this offensive stuff, and we'll spend a little bit of time on this Thursday. But Cole Andrews is the leading hitter there for them for 375. We'll get a little more depth in that on the next show. But Ohio State, not a great team, but it does appear they've got a couple of guys that can pitch it a little bit, but not scoring a ton of runs. Their last ball game was Sunday. That's interesting to think about that, right? We played so many midweek games. They have not played a true midweek game all year. Played Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then went into Monday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then now they'll play us. So they by the time we play them, they will not have played in 5 days. That's always interesting to me, how everybody else does their schedule. All right, so that's your game 1, Friday against Ohio State. We'll play Oklahoma, and you remember how good they were last year. They had some guys that could really pitch it. Not exactly sure they're going to be of the same caliber. And we were all pulling hard for them last year. We were, for obvious reasons. They had some chances to do some things, but couldn't get it done. And give Ole Miss credit. They handled it, right? They absolutely did. So let's take a quick look here at the Oklahoma baseball experience. It's always so interesting to me. This time of year, it's so difficult to kind of get a handle on things. But Oklahoma's 4-4. They lose their opening series in Norman to California Baptist. They bounce back and take care of Air Force. They lose to Abilene Christian in Arlington, 4-3 in 10 innings. And then they win the series over Ryder last weekend, 2 out of 3. It's interesting. Why aren't you playing more this time of year? And maybe we're playing too much. Who knows? I just don't like having all those non-conference games late. Let's just get it done, right? Let's just kind of get it done and get it over with. Let me see if we can't get some numbers here, too. Not exactly sure who we'll see, but again, 4-4. They won 2 in a row. So this will be interesting, too, because, they're going to be on the road here. They played in Globe Life Field against Abilene Christian and lost that ball game. That's the only game they've played away from their home arena. They're supposed to play tonight against UC Arlington on their way to Frisco, I would assume. But, I don't know what we expect in that ball game. But my hope is that they use a bunch of pitchers, right? Look at the numbers here. It's always interesting, too, how these websites work. I wish there was a little more uniformity with that. All right, so pitching-wise, they do have a couple of guys, obviously. Will Karsten leads the team with 2 starts, 2 appearances, 1-0 record, 2.7 ERA, has allowed 1 home run, just really 2 extra base hits, a dinger and a double in 10 innings pitched. Cal Davis, 10.1 innings pitched, also has a couple starts, and Braxton Dude has a couple starts, so good chance we'll see one of those guys. At the end of the day, I don't even really care about that. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't care what order they pitch people. I don't care who they throw. I always, and maybe it's because I've followed and covered Mississippi State for so long. I just think that, we're Mississippi State. We ought to be able to go out there and compete with anybody. We don't need somebody to lower the hurdles for us when it comes to college baseball. Maybe you see it differently. I don't. I expect big things from Mississippi State baseball, no matter who they trot out there. And that's what made last night a little more frustrating, right? Because you knew, number one, they don't have great pitching, and then you think we ought to be able to rock midweek pitching from anybody. So the Sunday game, of course, will be an early game, so we'll have to get packed up and get ready to go. But the Cal Golden Bears, best known for giving up the Stanford Cal play, they're 6-1 on the year. They've won 4 games in a row. They were supposed to play this weekend and it got rained out. So they have not played a ball game since Saturday. Sunday is postponed. Tuesday against UC Davis is postponed. So they're going to take on Oklahoma, Ohio State, and then us, of course, in that early Sunday game. But that's a loud win at Stanford. And they had an opening series they took at Houston. But the Cal Baseball Classic went pretty good for them. But a lot of low-scoring games. And looking at the numbers here, they have not scored double-digit runs yet. The most runs they've scored in a game all year was 8, and that was against Stanford in a midweek game. So not a prolific offense, but you also look at this thing too, not giving up many runs either. So we should expect them to pitch it pretty well. I mean, just based off early returns, just looking at these numbers, you'd expect these guys to pitch it well. Now, again, I don't know the quality of their opponents, with the exception of Stanford. You know the quality of that program out there. Leading hitter for them is Rodney Green Jr., hitting .367. Only 2 guys hitting above 300 of the regulars. So not a very prolific offense, and the scores kind of bear that out. Pitching standpoint here, looking at the starts, Ian May, his 2 starts, 1-0 record, had a shutout. That's interesting. 8 hits in 14 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, 2 walks. Tucker Bogey, maybe, 2.53 ERA, 1-0 record, 2 starts, also had a no decision. He's thrown 10.2 innings pitched, allowed 7 hits, 4 runs, 3 of them earned, 2 walks, 7 Ks. So it looks like this is like a pitch to defense type thing. Like we're going to pitch to contact. They've only struck out 52 hitters. That's not a real gaudy number. But considering that some of these starters, of course, have had multiple starts, not even averaging a strikeout per inning. So, but the opponent's batting average is the thing that jumps out. As a team, opponents are hitting .218 against them. So probably a typical West Coast baseball team that's going to pitch to contact and let their defense play behind them, and hope we score enough runs to hang on here. So could be runs be at a premium on Sunday, and so maybe having Landon Gartman go for us is a good thing. We got to be able to defend. Got to be able to defend. One thing that I always look at too for these West Coast teams, bunting. West Coast baseball does it a lot. They don't really run the bases that hard at Cal. 7 stolen bases in 7 attempts. They're kind of opportunistic, but just 2 sacrifice hits. And again, it's like, hey, who in this lineup really scares you? They got a couple guys that have got a couple home runs, but they've only hit 8 as a team. They've only allowed 4. And I suspect there won't be a lot of home runs hit out in Frisco. You hit one out of there, you're bringing it for sure. And the weather itself is always interesting this time of year. But looking at the extended forecast, Friday, the lows in the 40s, highs in the 60s. Saturday, same thing, really all week. Sunday, the high will be up to 75. So supposed to have sunshine all 3 days, which should make for some great pictures, but also some great baseball, right? They will have some rain in the forecast today and tomorrow. But if you're looking on the fence about going, it looks like you're going to have nice weather. We had amazing weather at Pearl last night. You could wear your short sleeves and be cool but not cold. You could put on a hoodie and be warm but not hot. It was a wonderful night. They did a great job putting that thing together. But we're going to find out a lot about our team this weekend. Of course, these are some helmet sticker type things. I mean, you look at Ohio State and say, you know what? I don't know that they can score unless we go walk the ballpark. Oklahoma, we've had some recent meetings with them in postseason play. You know the quality of that program. They're going to be joining the SEC. And then, of course, Cal. And so, this is not like we're going out there and playing, some teams that are just also-rans. We're going to go out there and play some teams that are going to have some dudes. And these are all Power 5 programs that I don't know how many fans they bring. I suspect that we should be able to go over there and take over that place. And it's kind of interesting, too. I'm going to look at some numbers here together, right? If we just kind of look at this together, I think you'll enjoy this because I think you can make a difference. So looking at the attendance, Cal, their home series last weekend against Cal Poly, they had 350 people come to the game. You get into the next day, 774. Double up there. I mean, goodness gracious. And then 774 the next day. And I think somebody may have just transposed the score there. But my point being, this is a big-time venue. And many of these teams are not used to playing in front of the kind of crowds that we can bring. So all of you Bulldogs that are in that area, or maybe you're on the fence about going, I encourage you to come out. I'm in Oklahoma. I looked at them earlier. They're averaging about 1,400. That's Oklahoma baseball, man. I mean, it's like the thing that I think about with these new schools coming in, Texas, of course, is Texas, right? I mean, they support baseball. They love baseball there. But I don't think anybody is really ready for what they see, what they're going to see in the SEC. Maybe I'm naive. I just don't think that's the case. I don't, what we do here in LSU and Arkansas and Ole Miss, I just don't think people can fully appreciate what they're going to see week in and week out in the Southeastern Conference. I got Oklahoma's numbers right here in front of me. So 1405, and then 1261, 1635, 1250, 377 last week against Ryder, 378, 908. I mean, we have that many people in line for the bathroom, right? I mean, it's insanity to think about that, for sure. And we talked about, the Cal thing, but, Ohio State, I mean, goodness gracious, I mean, they've barely even played any home games. And who's going to go turn out and watch a bad team play in cold weather? Just doesn't happen very often, right? So, of course, they played those first few games down there in Florida, and then they went out and played in Phoenix. So that, they have not played a game in front of their home fans. So they're going to be used to playing, I would assume, in front of sparse crowds. And this is where, again, I think you can make a difference. Last night, when Mississippi State was getting ready to make their run, the fans took over the game. Pretty impressive stuff. When the team needed you, you were there. And as my hoarseness can attest, I was one of you. But real quickly here, look at the Ohio State numbers. It's, again, these box scores. I don't know why we can't just put a box score up. But I don't know. They see it differently to me, I guess. But I finally got it up here. Apologies for that. I was ill-prepared. This was kind of an add-on here at the end of the show. But UConn played Ohio State down in that Snowbird Classic. They had, according to them, 3,685. So pretty nice crowd there. And then turn around the next day and have 307. So it's crazy. The third game is 522. Makes you wonder if maybe they didn't give some tickets away. 176 in Game 4 of the Snowbird Classic. Of course, they report 3,000 the first day, and then whatever. They go out to Phoenix. They have 1621 the first day, 330 the next day. You kind of get where I'm going here. 2380 at Grand Canyon. So good for them. And then against the Gonzaga, they have 307. And so, it's a detailed account of what everybody's faced, but they haven't faced anything like what we will bring, even on the road. And so those of you that are going to be in attendance, we need you to be vocal. We need you to be excited. We need you to be there for the Diamond Dawgs. And be loud. It's going to be good weather. Great venue. What could be better? And Mississippi State's now won 3 games in a row. Keys to victory: throw strikes, make the routine play, swing the bat. Simple as that. I'm excited to get there. And again, it's a busy week for me. Lot going on. But I'm eager to get back to Frisco. They do a great job with that event. If you're on the fence about going, I encourage you to get off the fence and make some plans. Absolutely. I know a lot of people are like, well, I just want to wait and see how they're going. We made our plans yesterday. We're going to head up to Lexington too. I told Mike Nemeth, as bad as we played on Friday, I said, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to go do all this road baseball if we're going to have another season like we did last year. Now we've bounced back. We're starting to play a little bit better. And again, last night was more like what we showed against VMI in game 1. Or game 2, excuse me. Game 1, whatever it was. The bad game against VMI and UL Monroe. It was a lot more like what we saw last night. And we were able to overcome it, but you can't count on that. You can't count on that. We have got to execute the fundamental elements of baseball, which is throwing strikes and making the routine play. And last night we struggled doing that and still managed to win the game. So in many respects, we stole a win last night. But like Joe Moorhead used to say, we're not going to accept in victory what we wouldn't accept in defeat. If we had lost that ball game last night, the story would have been the dozen free passes. Well, that's still the story, in my estimation, because I'm looking at the bigger picture. Yes, that big 4-run 8 made the difference. And yes, it showed that we have some intestinal fortitude. And yes, we have some grit and some toughness. It does. But it's amazing how the offense picked up when the pitching was better. Right? When we played clean. It's a team game. You put a lot more pressure on yourself when you step into the box, when you like, oh my gosh, I got to come through right here because we're not going to be able to hold them. It all works together. The collective psyche of a baseball team is one of the most intriguing things in the world because it seems like when one thing goes wrong, it impacts all of them. It's crazy how that works. But we did win the game. I'm very fortunate to win the game. And again, a tip of the cap to the Bulldogs that came all through in the 8th inning there. And Nate Dome did a great job for us. Tyson Harden did a great job for us. Thought he got squeezed a little bit. And there's a lot of talk about how there's an epidemic with walks in college baseball right now. Well, based on what we've seen from Cal pitching, I don't know if that's really the case. So we're going to go out there and work the count and look for something to hit. But more times than not, when you see those teams like that, they're throwing a lot of sinkers, they're getting under barrels, they're forcing you to hit their pitch and beat the ball on the ground with the defense work. So we're going to find out a lot about our team this weekend. But before we even get to that, of course, I encourage you to turn in and watch the women play on Thursday against Texas A&M. And then on Saturday, of course, if you're in the greater Nashville area or within a reasonable driving distance, go out there and support the Bulldogs. Just think if we could have a winning weekend, right? Let's say we get a couple wins in the SEC Women's Tournament, we can sit back and feel good about life. You get a win this weekend, I don't think anything matters in Nashville next week. You'd like to win a game, but if you don't have to. You post a winning weekend in baseball, I think this time, Monday of next week, we can feel really good about kind of where we sit. And it's good that, hey, things are trending in the right direction in every aspect. But I'm more concerned about baseball right now than I am men or women's basketball. Because I think those two teams have done enough at this point to show their identity. The baseball aspect of it, we've shown some flashes, but we're a little bit bipolar at times. And, some of the guys, too, that I saw some numbers earlier that the majority of our walks have come from like 4 different pitchers. You can't just give up on them this early in the year. You got to continue to work with them in bullpens, and you got to get them in practice. You got, at some point, we're going to need one of those guys to step up and make a play. I remember, too, back in 2018, as bad as things got, I remember so many people, like Keegan James is a guy that I remember. And there were a lot of people that kind of beat up on Keegan James. But down the stretch, he found something. And we do not go to Omaha without Keegan James. Keegan James, winning pitcher in the Super Regional at Vanderbilt, that sent us to Omaha. Now, he could have quit. He could have said, the fans are saying negative things about me on social media. And the staff could have quit on him too. But they didn't. And so I share that because it is a long season. And we can't just ride the same 5 or 6 pitchers through a 50-plus game schedule and expect those guys to be fresh late. You're going to have some guys eat up some innings in the midweek and find something. And they're on scholarship too. There's a responsibility here. So we got to make sure that we're getting that handled. But you can't give up on them. That doesn't mean you got to throw them out there in a pressure-packed situation just yet. That's what these midweek games are for, right? To get those guys some innings. But I just encourage you, because at some point, that guy that you're tweeting about, that guy that you're beating up on social media, that guy you're posting on the message board, at some point, there will come a time during this season you're going to need that guy to step up and make a play for you. You're going to need it. And your tweets aren't going to help that. It may make you feel better in the moment. It's not good for Mississippi State. It's not good for baseball. It's really not good for humanity, to be quite honest with you. Well, I'm a real one. Well, you know, are you? Are you really? No, you're not. So either we're part of this as a family or we're not. That's not to say that we want to argue among ourselves, but to get on social media and take shots at our players, it's just it's not anything I'm ever going to support. If you hadn't done so, go to dogpilethebook.com and get a copy of Dogpile. You can get it signed, you get it personalized. Many of you are already thinking about Father's Day coming up. Maybe you got a graduation gift. Maybe you got some, Mississippi State baseball fanatics will be graduating this spring. It's about 70 days away from graduation. Amazing, right? Go to dogpilethebook.com. You get all my sports books there. It's Flim Flam, Alpha Dog, Stark Villains, and Dogpile, of course. If you're looking for Bloomsville Leander, you can find that online at barnesandnoble.com, booksamillion.com, amazon.com, or through your local bookstore. If you need Stark Villains gear, and chances are you do, go to starkvillains.com and get a wide assortment of T-shirt and hoodies. Until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we'll make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs.
I never thought I'd care about gardening until I bought a house in the suburbs. But now I find myself in conversations about liquid fertilizer, and I wonder, am I the fertilizer guy now? No way. Everyone knows the ratio between phosphorus and nitrogen, right? Yeah, I'm still totally cool.
Anyway, when you save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto, that's the easy part of adjusting to the suburbs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, coverage provided in service by affiliates and third-party insurers.